Hello, everybody, and welcome to the pilot episode of Making the Rounds. This is a weekly series focused on members of TFT reviewing entertainment that is making its rounds within the group or society. It could be anywhere from books to video games. The format of the review will include a group of 3 to 4 people. I will start the review with a brief synopsis of the subject. Then it will be followed by an introduction of the reviewers. Then they will proceed by giving their own brief personal reviews on the topic, each lasting 3 to 4 minutes. Once they have said their opening opinions, they will move on to the final part of the review, a roundtable discussion. This will give them an opportunity to bounce their opinions off one another so that they will come to a group verdict on the issue being discussed. This format is merely a test and may be tweaked in the future so that it may fit into a certain time restraint. My hopes for the series is to bring TFT together to passionately discuss their favorite pieces of entertainment and share them with the rest of the group, RT community, or etc. I hope you guys will be interested in continuing this series, but in the meantime, here's the pilot. And this week, we're making the rounds with Zach.
Hey.
And Wubwave.
Hello.
Alright, today we will be reviewing Jurassic World. Let's start off with a little synopsis. Jurassic World is a continuation of the Jurassic Park series. It takes place 20 years after the initial park disaster. It follows four characters, Claire and Owen, as well as Claire's 2 nephews, as history begins to repeat itself. But this time, instead of facing the T-Rex, they face an even bigger threat, the Indominus Rex.
Such a dumb name. And I love the fact that in the movie it's called the Indominus Rex. They're like, that's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Because
it sounds scary.
Yeah, it sounds scary, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny, like if they did like a little nod to themselves. But then throughout the rest of the movie, it felt like they were really doing a nod to like modern day reboots of old movies. Like, dinosaurs are stale. We need to make up some gimmicky dinosaur. And I'm like, okay, this might be talking about itself. And then they're like, fucking original dinosaurs are way cooler than anything you could make. And I'm like, this actually kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That it's talking about, like, it made me.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of satire. Yeah, it's a lot of satire involved with it.
Yeah.
Which I loved.
And even the fact of like product placement, there was product placement at the beginning, like Verizon is sponsoring the Indominus Rex. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cheap. And then the one guy's like, why don't we have like a Pepsi-Saurus Rex? How about that? And I'm like, I think they get it. Like,
yeah. People were getting pissed off with the movie, and I was just sitting there. I was like, no, they actually know that it's dumb, but they did it in a funny way.
I loved how they also presented the visuals, like the cinematography of everything, like how there were some exhibits that were actually just like holograms, and then there were other exhibits that were just literally dinosaurs. And one of the funniest, like, cutesy kind of things that I really enjoyed was like the petting zoo where you could ride on a little Triceratops or, pet the little raptor thingamajiggies. So good.
I loved all the little references to the original movie. Like, it didn't feel like a gimmicky sequel. It felt like they were actually trying to reintroduce kids to this, like, series. Like, even, like, the 2 nephews seemed like almost like symbols. Yeah, like symbols of, like, modern-day kids that seeing the movie for the first time. They're like, oh, yeah, we've seen dinosaurs, of course.
A lot of kids have divorced parents, so they'll have that happening.
Yeah.
A lot of, brothers are very relatable because 50% of the population's male, and, it's like... It is supposed. It feels like the brothers are the audience at times, I guess.
That's exactly what it feels like. Because even
they're the active observers.
Yeah. Owen and Claire are like sort of the main cast, and the kids are like watching on, being like, "Cool." Like, that's most of what the kids do. It's just like look on and be like, "Wow, that's really neat."
Yeah, I just like. I was fine with them, but at the same time, I didn't really care for their character development.
Well,
so
yeah, I kind of felt
they're
the
more
same
like,
way.
but they were like more like the observer.
Yeah,
they weren't.
Yeah,
the story's being
but it was
told
kind of
from their point
shoehorned
view.
in, though.
I get
it was more of a fault on the writers.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, I agree. They were, but I mean, overall as a whole, I do feel like this movie is a true sequel to Jurassic Park.
I feel like it could have used a little bit more Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, same here.
But I do like.
So is that how we're going to end it today? Is all of us doing our
All
laugh?
of us doing the Jeff Goldblum laugh, maybe.
Absolutely. But I also love like the little cinematography, like you were speaking of, like little references tossed in, like the ones where the Velociraptor's chasing the car and they look in the review mirror,
Yeah.
sort of like in the first one with the T-Rex.
Yeah.
And there were
Yeah.
some scenes that were like very close to the first couple movies.
Yeah, very similar.
As far as like iconic scenes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I loved when the kids went and found the original Jurassic Park on the island that's all run down, and they pick up the night vision goggles from the first movie. I'm like, what? It's a nice touch.
Yeah, it is. It's a very nice touch. Like, there's just all kinds of little things that they put together to make this movie both visually and like auditorily appealing. Like, I don't really look for continuity errors or anything like that in a movie. But one thing I did that stuck with me is like Claire was wearing heels the entire movie. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's like you just try to look for a scene where she's not wearing heels, and you will not find it. I'm like, as soon as I noticed it at the beginning where she was running around in heels, where Chris Pratt's character, aka Owen, mentioned you're not gonna be able to run in heels, and then like at the waterfall scene, it's like, oh, she's running in heels the entire movie.
Listen, those are genetically modified heels. The military's testing them for combat. I loved that one, the military character I was saying before we started recording. Like, he seems like almost like a tongue-in-cheek reference to like Michael Bay, where it's like, we have raptors, let's put machine guns on them and run them into terrorists.
Exactly.
Like, that does sound awesome, but at the same time, don't do that.
Yeah. Alrighty. Do you want to go ahead and do our individual reviews?
Yeah, go ahead.
Overall, I thought Jurassic World was a very, very fun movie. It was the summer blockbuster I was not expecting to like. And I came into it with a very, very, how to say this, very close mind. And it blew me away. Let's just say that. But it's not without its faults. For instance, I love the direction of the movie. Like, I like that it's kind of very tongue-in-cheek. It didn't take itself too seriously. It knew what it was, and it went with it, and I loved that. It was very satirical in the sense that, like, for instance, like, they had the little, product placements, and they're like, oh, Verizon Wireless presents the Indominus Rex, and they're like, oh, that's stupid. Why don't we just call it Pepsi-Saurus or Tostito-Don or something like that? And it was yeah, exactly. And it was I liked it. I liked that style. When it comes to the acting, though, for the movie, I really enjoyed most of the acting, even though it wasn't like, Academy Award winning stuff. Like,
I mean, it's a summer action movie. You can't really expect like Citizen Kane.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for instance, Owen was Chris Pratt did his job. He was a great, chick magnet. He got the ladies' attention, and he was a good action hero.
I loved when they introduced his character. He had the sun behind him. It was like a sun ray, like a god ray behind him at the very beginning.
And then I thought, there were some people, like some reviewers, who had a problem with Claire. They're like, oh, she's kind of weak. And I thought she was actually a pretty decent character, despite you talking about her being, running in heels the entire time. But, like, there's that moment when they're, normally they're like, okay, what do you want me to do? She was kind of like, nope, I'm staying with you the entire time. I'm a strong woman. I was like, okay, she's a strong lead. And then she pulls out that gun and starts shooting the pterodactyl, or whatever the smaller one was. And they're like, is that Anne Claire? She's kind of a badass.
Oh,
I was like,
she's also the one that, I mean, I don't want to spoil like the big climax at the end, but she is the one that sort of saves the day with some quick thinking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, that's what I was about to get into, is she's the one who's like, we need more teeth. And then she goes and gets a flare and brings out the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is like, yeah, she's badass.
Speaking of like little nods to the original movie, that's one of the things I really liked about the movie. It's just that it didn't feel like a shoehorned in sequel. It felt like the people who directed it and wrote it actually kind of gave a shit. But the end, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it is the T-Rex
Yeah.
and the Velociraptor, the original dinosaurs from the first movie, that win.
Right.
And it seems like it just fits into that metaphor just a little bit more.
Well, when it came to acting, also, the kids did their role. Like I said, everyone did their role. They were fine. The only one that I feel like it kind of fell flat for me was Hoskins, but I just didn't really give a crap about his character. When it came to, like I said, with the direction, is very throwback. I love the fact that they brought back some of John Williams, his score and everything, a little throwback to that. The little visuals here and there, like with the Dino DNA, the statue of John Hammond and everything like that. I was like, I love that.
Oh,
Yeah.
The Dilophosaur is the hologram, and it flared its the fringes. It looked like it was the exact same sort of I don't want to say puppet, but model from the original movie, just given an updated hologram look. Yeah.
Right. Speaking of visuals, the visuals were overall great. It was a summer action film, but I tend to be more one I like the practical effects over digital effects, and in this one, some of the dinosaurs looked very fine, but there were some moments where it's just oh, the CGI looks so terrible in this scene. This looks incredibly fake. For instance, with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, when it came through, you could obviously tell that it was a green screen over that. And it's it kind of, most people won't notice, but I kind of
It didn't
noticed.
have that same sort of resonance that the first movie had, where it's wow, this looks really real for the time. It looks like any other action movie or summer movie as far as CG goes, but it's not groundbreaking like the first one.
Yeah, and it wasn't groundbreaking, but I don't think it was supposed to be. Same thing with the story. It wasn't fantastic. The writers did an okay job. There's I felt like some of the audio, not the audio, but some of the lines were very cheesy. So, and they try to be, clever and satirical with some stuff. But overall, the writing was okay. But it didn't need to be. That's the thing. They did a good enough job with the direction. It was also a surprisingly dark movie, too.
It had some darker moments to it.
Oh god, there's always one character in the movies that just gets dumpstered so hard, way more than compared to anyone else. And I don't want to spoil anything, but you can cut this out if you want to. The assistant character, she got wrecked.
Didn't she deserve it though?
No, she was doing her job, and then she lost the kids. That, the punishment is way more than the
severe than the crime, I guess. She was kind of a bitch. I don't know. That's how I felt about it, though.
Oh yeah, she got shit on horribly. Not really. She was just unobservant. But yeah, with the story, the kids were a big for me, because I was I know they're the active observers and they're supposed to represent the audience in a way. But once they started doing the character development for them with the divorce and everything, it felt shoehorned.
Yeah, that's a little much. It did. And they're parents are getting divorced. I'm oh, when are the dinosaurs coming back? And I'm are your kids done talking about your family, whatever? How many velociraptors were there? Because I was keeping count.
4.
Well, I thought there was 4. I was keeping count through the movie. One gets blown up by a missile. I'm oh, now there's only 3. And then one gets tossed by the Adonis Rex. I'm oh man, now there's only 2. One gets blown up in a charcoal grill or something. I'm oh, there's only 1. Wait, there's 4 back on the screen?
Yeah.
The raptors, I'm not sure if there's, I don't know, maybe it's just a nitpick, but I'm there's too many raptors.
Yeah. And overall, I'd say this is a great movie. Definitely go see it. And it's basically a monster movie. It's not really a sci-fi thriller like the first one was, but it's a good monster movie. It's what Godzilla should have been, in my opinion. But and my last little statement I'll say is, you're my girl, Blue. You're my girl.
Oh, my review. Well, it did. It felt like they kind of, like I said, it felt like they actually gave a shit when it came to wanting to make a sequel that's good and also a little bit more referential to the first. And I just enjoyed it. Like overall, I wasn't like the best movie by any means, but it was still very good for what it is. I wish Claire did gymnastics and kicked a velociraptor off of a tower though. 3 out of 10. Yeah. See, that would make her a stronger female character. I'm just saying.
That would be pretty legit, though. Well, I completely. I'm gonna go ahead and get into my review if you're done, Wubs.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
well, I completely loved the movie. I'm totally okay with rewatching it or seeing it again at any point in time because it was an enjoyable experience. The visuals, the nods, the true sequel. You know, like Wub said, it feels like they gave a shit enough to make it feel like a feel good movie when it comes to like the overall watching experience. I like the fact that Claire was stubborn and she's like, nah, I'm gonna wear these heels the entire movie and I'm gonna be a badass and shoot this rifle and take out a whole bunch of fucking little tiny pterodactyls. It was great. And then Owen, he was awesome. He is like the rugged protagonist, you know, like an Indiana Jones kind of deal, but with like a respect to his to his animals that he helped train and take care of and stuff like that. And what I really wanted that was kind of very open ended, I wanted Haskins to finish his story about the wolf pup. He didn't say anything else about the wolf pup.
Yeah.
I mean, he just like I know. I'm like, oh, did you have to kill it? Did you raise it? Did you let it go? What happened? No, but that's again a very nitpicky kind of thing. So
I didn't like the Dominus Rex. I know it was supposed to be a gimmick for the sake of being a gimmick. Like, they literally say this is a really gimmicky dinosaur, like, in the movie. And like, well, we need people to come watch. Like, the business people. But it just, like, some of the stuff they throw in, it's like, is this, like, the Predator? Like, in dinosaur form? Like, I was thinking that at the end of the movie, it'd just be like, and then, like, you see, like, the 3 little, like, lasers go on someone's face, and you're like, oh, no. It's developed a shoulder laser. We mixed it with Predator DNA.
yeah, is this a predator? What's going on? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely want to see that climax again. Like, in the theater, it was like, I had the biggest smile on my face because I'm like, this is so dumb, but so cool.
Yeah. What's your final verdict from everybody?
I would definitely recommend to go see it while it's still in theaters because I feel like the movie theater experience is going to be a lot better than watching it on DVD just because, you know, like the sound effects and the big screen and all that. But I would definitely say go give it a watch one way or another.
But I mean, yeah, overall, I would most certainly recommend watching this movie in theaters at a matinee or even buying the DVD or Blu-ray because it was a great movie.
As soon as I saw those, like, with the T-Rex coming out of its habitat and just, like, absolutely going after the Indominus, I was like, oh my god, this is what I signed up for. This is perfect. Yeah, I agree. I think you should give it a watch in theaters, especially if you have an IMAX, with, like, you know, the surround sound. It's a certainly pleasing movie to go see in theaters, and, you know, it might not be the same, but it's also very good. It'll probably be a very good Blu-ray movie as well. So, thank you guys for coming in and reviewing Jurassic World with me. It's been fun having you guys. And we'll see everybody next week when we review Plastic Memories.